I know you said that you wouldn't be back except for The Dark Knight Returns, but I don't know if Netflix finally has it and you could hypothetically continue, would you be open to it?
If Netflix had owned the rights to the to my the DC characters in my extended universe, of course I would absolutely whatever yeah, no question.
Fans will be very happy.
Yeah.
I will be very happy. And about superhero movies, I have to agree because you are one of the biggest figures in the industry. Do you feel that these movies are losing popularity? Because I think that, and why? Precisely why? Why do you think it's happening?
I mean, we've been watching superhero movies every weekend for 15 years or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's not outrageous that there is that the graph is gonna fluctuate, yeah, and so I just think that I don't think by any means that I don't think the superhero movie is completely like done. I think that, but I do feel like there's an onus on the filmmakers and on the people who are the guardians of this IP to be sure that they are bringing audiences the highest quality material they can, because now audiences are very sophisticated. They know they know it. They know the stories now. You need to surprise them again.
In today's video, we're going to talk about the Snyderverse. Why? Because Zack Snyder was asked an inappropriate, nonsense question whilst on the world tour for Rebel Moon. Gotta thank Netflix UK for inviting me to the UK premiere for Rebel Moon. Now, personally, I don't think any question should be asked outside of Rebel Moon. Asking him about the Snyderverse, to me, he looked very annoyed. I think these kind of questions are personally. Why? Because I know how long you get with talent. You get 3 to 4 minutes maximum. He knew the question was coming. Why ask him about the Snyderverse when he's literally building a whole new universe called Rebel Moon? They've already filmed 1 to 2 back to back. He's currently editing it. Part 2 comes out in April. We've already got a review up for Part 1 of Rebel Moon. Fantastic movie. Check it out, but we're going to break down what Zack Snyder said and what it actually means. Yo, what is good, YouTube? What's you here? If you are new around here, make sure to subscribe to never miss any of the Kaiju, Monsterverse, Marvel, DC, pop culture-based content that I try to cover on a daily basis personally. If you could, subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, and let me know, do you agree with me that this was an inappropriate, nonsensical question that was asked during a Rebel Moon world tour? We knew the question was going to come. I mean, I wasn't going to ask him personally. I've met Zack Snyder, never once spoke to him about the Snyderverse because it's in the past. So, if you could check us out on Instagram at Warstu to see the beautiful face behind the beautiful voice, and if you could check us out on Twitter, WarstuG. Right, let's get into it. So, I would have played the clip beforehand, and fair play to the interviewer. I know exactly why he asked that question, because it will go viral. But I think Zack's second question in this interview is far better, when he was essentially asked about superhero fatigue. And Zack's right. You've basically got to make a good movie and you've got to surprise the audience. But question 1. Now, the whole sell the Snyderverse, sell Zack Snyder Justice League to Netflix is the most ridiculous, the most stupid hashtag ever. It makes literally no sense. Hypothetically, if Netflix finally has it, you could potentially continue. Would you be open to this? Now, a lot of people think I switched up on the Snyderverse. I switched up on Zack Snyder. How did I switch up on him? I've been to 2 Rebel Moon events courtesy of Netflix UK this year. I still support him, but I support him what he's currently doing. I didn't give a hyperbolic fake review. I gave my honest opinion on what I thought of the Rebel Moon movie, and I want to see more, sure. But to support the Snyderverse when it doesn't exist, because it doesn't really exist. It's just his interpretation of DC. So he answered the question with a question, really. If Netflix had the rights to the DC characters in my universe, of course I would do it. Absolutely. Yeah, no question. But Zack said that. He's repeatedly said that. When the Zack Snyder Justice League movie came out, he did a bunch of post interviews when the movie came out with some YouTubers, and he's repeatedly always said that. I've always said the same thing. Zack would do it if he could do it. But the scenario is he's most likely not going to ever get the chance to do it. Now, I've seen some people comparing the partnership that Marvel Studios has with Sony Pictures and be like, yeah, but Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man, but the MCU still has Spider-Man. This isn't even close to the same situation. And yes, I understand Warner Bros. Discovery is in between 45 to $50 billion debt. And there was a recent article that came out that basically said Warner Bros. Discovery's stock, it's probably going to go bankrupt. So hypothetically, the only way this would happen would be if Netflix was to buy Warner Bros. Discovery. Netflix is worth around 200 billion. Warner Bros. Discovery is worth around 20 billion. Yeah, I know Discovery paid more than that for it, but they're in huge debt. Cool story, bro. They've been in debt for a long time, but that doesn't necessarily mean Netflix would buy them. Amazon is trying to build their studio. Apple is trying to build their studios. So most likely one of the other two would buy it. Zack Snyder has a very good relationship with Netflix. Of course he does. And of course, I'd love to see the Snyderverse continue. Like I've always said, I was one of the first YouTubers to tell you the Zack Snyder cut was coming. But the difference there was, it was all there, but they filmed another... Yeah, I know they filmed another scene in Zack Snyder's backyard. I get it. But most of the footage was there, right? Most of the work was already done. And yes, I heard the quote from a Netflix executive saying more Zack Snyder's work would be cool, but we still don't know. This is the problem with trades, with publications. The quotes are out of context. There was a quote floating around that Zack was done and he's moved on. And in theory, he has moved on. He really has. If you can't see that, you're clutching at straws, as we would say here in England. You are really clutching at straws. And people acting like Zack Snyder said he would continue is some kind of huge win. It's not a win, because Zack has always said if hypothetically it was possible, he would love to do Justice League 2 and 3. But something that a lot of people aren't really factoring in is, yes, Henry Cavill, Amber Heard, Ray Fisher, they all love Snyder. It wouldn't be possible with the actual cast. So Jason Momoa most likely is going to be playing Lobo in the DCU. Now, would it actually be restoring the Snyderverse and doing... The Restore the Snyderverse tag makes sense. Sell Zack Snyder Justice League Netflix is the most stupid tag ever. No wonder it's getting no traffic at all. And people be like on Twitter, yeah, but we've done more with the Sell the Snyderverse to Netflix than the Restore the Snyderverse tag did. Nah, you didn't, because they actually got somewhere. Zack coming out officially and saying he would be down. He's appeared on multiple YouTube channels directly after Zack Snyder's Justice League movie came out, saying the same thing, that he would be down. And hypothetically, the only way this would actually work would be if it was an Elseworlds storyline with Warner Bros. Discovery. But I'm pretty sure Zack Snyder wouldn't even do that, even though he is friends or work colleagues with James Gunn. I don't hypothetically think this situation would ever happen. But I do see people on Twitter, I do see people in my DMs on Instagram requested telling me how much I've switched up and now I'm a hater. No, I'm not a hater, but I won't repeatedly tell you things because nothing's changed. Zack Snyder coming out saying this changes absolutely nothing. Yes, Netflix does have a lot of money, but it's also hemorrhaging money. Not a lot of the streaming services are actually making money at the moment. And yeah, Warner Bros. Discovery may go bankrupt. Sure, bro. But that does not mean that Netflix is going to jump straight in. And yeah, Warner Bros. Discovery isn't really making much profit at all because they have to pay the debt off. And the probability, according to this website, I can't vet whether this website's accurate or not, says it's got a 60% probability of going bankrupt. Well, they're in $50 billion worth of debt, so of course they could potentially go bankrupt. Any company could. But to say Zack Snyder's saying, yo, the Snyderverse will be restored, watch his space, I do see a lot of people on Twitter making out that now this is confirmed. Justice League 2 and 3 are coming. Don't get me wrong. If that was to happen, your boy Warstu would be all over that. But at the moment, it's not really going to happen. It can't happen. Why? Because the Snyderverse does not exist in terms of an IP. There's a bunch of characters, Batman, Superman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, etc. They're owned by DC, which is owned by Warner Bros. Discovery, and the distributor, Warner Bros. Distributor, blah, 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 blah. It's not going to happen. It's not possible. And I see these little tweets like, yeah, loads of YouTubers are switching up. Nah, they're just being realistic. They would all be down to watch Dark Side Ready Armada, see the evil Superman played by Henry Cavill. But are all the Snyderverse actors down? Will they be down? Is this going to take 5 to 10 years? Would they still be down then? Potentially not. I mean, you've either got two situations where Warner Bros. Discovery gets bought out and then Zack can continue his work, cool story, bro, or there's an Elseworld storyline. But if that was going to be the case, James Gunn would have already confirmed that. And a lot of people seem to think if Superman Legacy fails, that the Snyderverse, Justice League 2 and 3 is the backup plan. There is no backup plan. If the new DCU that James Gunn and Pete Safran are making, if it fails, then DC fails. There is no backup plan. The Snyderverse is not the backup plan. Because yes, in theory, it did make money. It didn't make enough money, or else it would have continued. Yes, I know there's a lot of hyperbole and there's a lot of politics behind the scenes and there's a lot like Walter Hamada, etc. They've all left and stuff, but there's a new regime when it comes to who's in charge of DC Studios. So yeah, I may not talk about this stuff on the channel or on Twitter or Instagram very often because Zack can say what he wants. Zack is entitled to say what he wants. Like you guys are entitled to say what you want on Twitter. But just because Zack said he would continue it, it's not some big triumphant moment. And it's not like Netflix behind the scenes are working to buy the rights, because buy the rights to what? Zack's version of these characters, which are owned by DC, which is owned by Warner Bros., which is owned by Warner Bros. Discovery. It doesn't really change anything. In an ideal world, we could get Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3 and get the Ben Affleck Batman movie with Joe Manganiello Deathstroke and get Henry Cavill Superman back. Because although Henry has been backstabbed a lot, which is kind of common in Hollywood, Henry Cavill would return to do his version of Man of Steel 2 if he could, and Henry Cavill would return in a heartbeat. Why? Because he loves playing Superman, and all these people that were in the Snyderverse, they love their role, so they most likely would return. Hypothetically speaking, that could happen. In an ideal situation, we could get the Snyderverse and we could get the DCU. I think it would run better that way. You know, give Zack his universe, give James Gunn whatever universe he's building, and have like the Batman universe, the Joker universe, as Elseworld storylines. In an ideal world, we could get all of them, but in practicality, in the practical world, it's just not going to happen. So yes, I did see what Zack said, but I've always known what Zack will say if he was asked this question. Personally, I think it's a stupid question to ask at an event that is there for Rebel Moon. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not as stupid as asking him about Fortnite. I mean, imagine getting the opportunity to interview Zack Snyder, and I know Zack Snyder plays for, and you start talking about Fortnite. I mean, I get it. It's for the TikTok views, which are not even equal to YouTube views, but I get it. I do get it. You need the clicks. You need the clicks. If you ever get the opportunity to talk to Zack Snyder or Deborah, don't be talking about Fortnite. I mean, seriously. Talk about a real game like Lord of the Fallen or God of War or something. Fortnite is a game for people that can't play games. Play a real game like Lord of the Fallen or God of War or something like that. So like always, guys, I still support the Snyderverse, sure, but there isn't any Snyderverse to support. I'd love to see Justice League 2 and 3. Them fan-made trailers from our friends over at Screen Culture, they are absolute fire. They're fan-made though. Hypothetically, that's the best we're getting. Check out the boys over at Screen Culture. They're killing it. Them trailers they make are cool. That's the best we're going to get until potentially Warner Bros. Discovery gets bought out or goes bankrupt. But then still, that does not guarantee the Snyderverse gets continued anyway. Only if Netflix were to take over. But are Netflix really going to splash out $20 to $30 billion, if not more, to buy out the whole of Warner Bros. Discovery just to get Zack Snyder's Justice League restored? I don't believe they would do that. It's not worth that much to them. But you never know, if Rebel Moon pops, potentially in a hypothetical world, it could happen. But in the real world, I don't really think it stands a chance. So like always, guys, check us out on Instagram at Warstu to see the beautiful face behind the beautiful voice. Check out Rebel Moon coming soon. We did a non-spoiler review. I mean, Warstu doing a non-spoiler review. I don't know how that actually happened because I like the movie so much and Netflix invited me to a cool event. So I thought, hell, we do a non-spoiler review. I don't ever do that. So like always, guys, check us out on Instagram at Warstu to see the beautiful face behind the beautiful voice. Check us out on Twitter, Warstu, and I will catch you in another video soon. Catch you later.